Welcome back to Bazooka Kickboxing and MMA. Today's episode, powered by Hayabusa, is about 6 different common kicking errors you will see. All right, today we're breaking down common kicking mistakes, and there's a lot of them, but I'm gonna try to give you different ones, unique ones that maybe you're not seeing or hearing all the time. Now, a lot of these tips that I'm giving you are a lot of the issues that I'm seeing here at Bazooka Kickboxing and MMA. We do have a good beginner program here, so these little mistakes happen a lot. So I want to make sure whether you're beginner, intermediate, or an advanced fighter, you understand that these are maybe some of the mistakes you're making. Now, when I say a mistake, okay, a lot of times I talk about different variations of kicking. So if I'm talking about that 45 kick I talk about on an angle, right, I'm not going to ask you to pivot as much, right, because it's a 45 kick versus a big spinning round kick, you might pivot more. So depending the type of kick, okay, there could be differences in these common mistakes. But I'm talking about your traditional round kick that most people learn in the beginning of their training. And I'm going to be honest with you, I even have professional fighters here who have a hard time throwing this round kick properly still. It is more an advanced strike than most people think. It's literally a strike that you can work for your entire life to try to perfect it in so many different ways. So let's get into my top 6 common errors that I see people make when throwing the round kick. The first one is what I call the power line stepping. So if I want to now step and I'm kicking in this direction, right, I need to step this way to open up my hip to be able to generate the power. Now, if I'm kicking in this direction and I step over here and trying to kick over here, I got no power, I got no balance, and the structure in my stance is terrible. So power line stepping when throwing your kick is very important. Now, when I talk about power line, right, you can step slightly outside of the line, okay? I don't want to see a huge step. I'm not a big believer in a lot of people overstepping, you know, off center line. You don't need to step off this. If you're going to low kick or to chop to just miss a punch, you know, all you need is the punch to miss the ear. You don't need the big step out. The big step out will just put you in an awkward position to maybe follow up, okay? So power line stepping. Now, a lot of traditional Muay Thai and even kickboxing coaches teach you to step straight, which is very good. I like the straight step too. But if you're going to step straight, you have to make sure you go on the ball of the foot, which is common error number 2, which is weak calves, okay? So if you automatically step in that good power line that I talked about in number 1, and you're on the calf beautifully, but if you can't kick and stay on the calf and then your calf collapses because it's weak, your whole kick and structure of the technique is broken down. So you're nicely on there, then boom, your calf falls down because it can't sustain your weight, and then you've lost the kick, and at that point, you don't have the ability to kind of pivot back to get into your stance again, right? Which is a mistake, right? You don't want to be kicking and falling down here. You want to be able to come back to your stance. So weak calves. Now, there's so many different ways to strengthen your calves, but something simple that I do here is one of our bounces. I have one knee up, above parallel, hands up, and I have my members bounce on their calves. Now, something simple like that, you're balancing all your weight on one calf. Stuff like this will just help. Now you can build it for endurance. We do 10 on one side, 10 on the other, 20 bounces, 1, 20, 30, 30, then keep building it up. But the idea is the ability to sustain your weight on those calves, very important. So not only are you stepping in the right direction now, you're able to keep your weight on that calf to be able to come back to your stance, okay? So the calf, strengthen them, keep it up. And what the calf also does, being on the ball of your foot, using the strong calf, it allows you to counterbalance. If I kick and I'm on the ball of my foot, it lets me fall backward into my stance. If I'm flat on my foot and I can't sustain that weight, I fall forward and then I can be hit, okay? So strengthen those calves. The third thing we're going to talk about is pivoting, okay? Now, the mistake I'm going to talk about is 2 under this category. Now, there are people who don't pivot at all, right? It's a round kick. It has to come round, right? So in order for it to come round, I need to pivot off my front foot. So no pivoting is a mistake. If I don't pivot my front foot, there is no way I could use my hip on my rear side. I need to have my hip turning over. So the strong calf allows me to stay on the calf, but now I really have to make sure I pivot as I kick, okay? Now, no pivot was one mistake. The second one is over pivot. Now, I tend to see the over pivot in a lot of more traditional martial artists because they like the snap. So they'll over snap and then all of a sudden their back foot is pointing the other way. So the kind of reference I like to use is you don't really need to pivot more than 90 degrees, which means if I step here on a good power line, I only need to put my foot 90 degrees in the other direction. If it starts going past 90 degrees, I'm over pivoting. What is the problem with over pivoting here is how do I get back into my stance? Now I'm stuck here, I fell here, and now I gave my opponent my back for a second. So I need to make sure I'm not over pivoting to allow me to counterbalance and to be able to pivot back, right? I want to kick and pivot back into my stance safely so I can defend or counter back, okay? So very important that you, one, pivot 90 degrees and not over pivot, okay? So the fine balance and the fine details are very important. Now, I always talk about returning to balance, right? I said if you're not going to go on your calf, it's going to be harder to return back to your stance. So the common error I'm seeing is not returning back to stance. So a good reference to use is even tape your feet. Put little bits of tape on the floor to see where your back foot came from. So after I kick, I need to come back and place my foot back where it is. The big mistake, what happens now is we step. Remember, 1, power line. 2, I get on the ball of my foot. Now, when I'm pivoting, right, if my heel collapses, boom, and now my calf gave out, I can't come back to my stance to return. So a lot of times the not returning to the stance comes from the weak calf, right? You're pivoting to kick, but you're missing the keeping on the calf to pivot back to return, okay? So that's the big mistake right there, okay? So making sure you stay on the ball of the foot the entire time you throw your kick and it comes down. If you over pivot, man, it's going to be almost impossible to get back to that original position, okay? So calves, right, and angled stepping is all going to help you get back to that stance where you started, okay? Very important. Get back to that stance. Now, even some people here, you might step straight, instead they come back and they always fall on an angle because, again, the pivot and the weak calves. Very, very important. Now, one that ends up being a controversial topic to a lot of people, and I don't know why it is, it's the hand motion of when you're kicking. Now, for some reason online, some people think that, I don't know where they've learned this, that I've only teach keeping the hands connected to the head, right? Which, again, sometimes it's important, right? If I'm kick fighting here, boom, and I'm throwing a 45 kick and I'm punching back after, yeah, or they're countering me, I might keep my hands pinned here. But when I'm talking about the traditional round kick, right? This is what the video's on. I need to be able to move my hands with my kick, right? If I just keep my hands here, I'm going to keep spinning. It doesn't give me the counterbalance, okay? That's why I talk about returning back to the stance. By kicking and having my hand out here, this stops me from spinning right around. If I keep my hands here, it's like one of those top spins. It's going to spin faster if I keep my arms in. Now, if I throw this arm out as I kick, it stops me midway and I can come counterbalance to it. Now, the answer is a very long-winded one. And my answer to this one, should your hands be here versus here, it's going to be like always. It depends, okay? Now, the simple answer I will give you, that I give to most people, if I'm fighting mid-range, which means head-to-head, and we're fighting close, I'm going to low kick probably with my hands up because I'm in punch range. If I'm body kicking from the outside and I know I could avoid the punch, then I'm going to move my hands. If I know I want to kick, maybe use long guard attacking, right? Boom, I can kick, control my opponent's hands, use the elbows. I might do that, okay? So it depends on the situation. But short answer, for those who want an answer to this question, low kicks head to head, yeah, I would keep my hands up. Imagine being in mid-range and punch range and dropping this hand. Boom, you're going to get cracked very easily. So, boom, maybe staying here, maybe using this. A lot of times when I low kick here, I might even use a hand frame, long guard. As I'm kicking, I put my hands, pin their hands to them, right? So there's different strategy about what your hands can do. So to say there's only one way, only here or only here, wouldn't be right, okay? So depending on the distance makes a big deal when talking about this. Depends, is your opponent countering with heavy punches, right? If they're countering with kicks, I might not be too worried about it, but because I might block differently. But if I'm kicking and I know they're going to be blasting punches, my hands better be up, right? Okay, so number 6. This one, again, could be elaborated in so many different ways, but it's about distance. And all of our strikes, we have to understand the distance and range, okay? So when I see a beginner one hitting pads, it's really jammed, right? Or the angle is off, or they're kicking and not returning. Now, the problem is when you kick round pads, it's a big area to focus on. And then all of a sudden you go into sparring drills, and then you have to be a little bit more precise. So I think the important thing is when you're doing pads or drills is almost you having to think about the kick before you throw it. And I think why you have to think about it, because if I'm kicking and I want to stay long, I'm going to use the bottom part of my foot. If I'm kicking to set something up, I'm kicking more with my foot, the base of my shin. Okay? If I'm trying to finish you and hit you with harder kicks, I'm going to come and hit higher up. The higher I hit on my shin, the more weight, the more damage I'm going to do. But it's very important you, one, understand that range and distance. Now, again, like I keep saying, there's the beginner answer, and then there's the long-winded professional answer, okay? But the main thing I need you to understand is understanding the kick is most powerful at its proper range. If I'm too close, I'm not going to get it. If I'm too far, I'm not going to get it. So what has to happen is find a range. And one of the easy ways to understand it is put your lead hand out, right? Now, a lot of people range at this. No, you get a nice long jab to know, okay, this is where it is, and you know your kick is slightly longer. So kind of just setting up, maybe when you're doing drills, just getting the nice long jab to make sure you have range to get the maximum power, okay? Or on pads, you know, making sure you just kind of find that range before you kick to make sure you're there. Now, if you're more advanced and you're watching this video, when I do drills, it gets to the point even where I decide which part of my foot I'm going to hit with. So if I'm doing body kicks, I might hit with the instep. Okay, I'm going to hit the leg. I'm going to hit mid-shin. Okay, I'm going to go left kick. I'm going to kick instep. This time I'm going to kick high shin. Right? So I, in my head, know which range I want to throw my weapon at. Okay? It's my weapon. I have it. I get to use it when I want. So the important part is use it when it makes sense, and the type of kick matters too, okay? So I can get in this whole off topic about variations, okay? But just remember, understanding the distance all comes from what you're trying to accomplish from the kick, okay? But what I recommend for everyone is making sure, one, after you kick, okay, know, are you one, trying to crash distance and play in the clinch, which means I'm going to kick and then stay inside, or okay, are you kicking to manage distance? Which means I need to kick and pull my back foot out and be out of punch range now, okay? So am I kicking to stay in range, or am I kicking to exit out is the key when it comes to the 6th mistake. But the last thing I don't want to see is you just kicking and falling, okay? Control either in or out, okay, and have that understanding. Don't let your technique determine where you end up. You need to decide that before you even throw the strike. All right, hope you enjoyed today's episode. 6 common mistakes people make when throwing kicks. Here's how you perfect them. Start with the calves. I'm telling you, power line stepping and calf work alone will make your round kick that much better. Okay? Like, subscribe, share Bazooka Kickboxing and MMA with your friends. Make sure you support the channel by going to HayabusaFight.com and checking out all the Hayabusa gear. Also head over to Perfect Sports Nutrition, where you can use code Bazooka20, get 20% off your supplements. We have Bazooka Shop for gear. And last but not least, bazookatraining.com, where you get me basically as a home coach with 4 brand new videos every single week, plus an archive library of over 100 videos, and that's only $9.99 US per month, and each week, every Monday, 4 videos. Home workouts, bag workouts, tutorials, and sparring drills, all right? So whatever level or equipment you have, there's workouts for you. You might only have a living room at home, and you only study the bag work or the home workout that you can do. But I know members who watch the bag work. They watch the sparring drills because the teaching, the learning, the concepts, the drills are all there for you, right? These YouTube videos give you the little bit of the appetizer, right? I'm teaching this kick. But if you go to Bazooka training, you're going to see how to land them to the body, how to set them up, different techniques, different variations, 45 versus rounds. So the detail, the curriculum, and how to put it together all happens at bazookatraining.com. All right, we'll see you next time here on YouTube at Bazooka Kickboxing and MMA. Welcome to Bazooka Kickboxing and MMA online training. I'm Bazooka Joe Valtellini, the owner here at Bazooka Kickboxing and MMA. Over the past year, I've designed and created a website to teach Bazooka curriculum at home and across the world. The purpose of this website is for you to, one, hit your fitness and health goals, all while learning world-class martial arts instruction from me. The beautiful thing about this website, it's geared for all levels. So if you're learning martial arts for the first time as a beginner, we help you progress into the bigger stages. And if you're a pro fighter, guess what? We have different fight concepts for you to improve your tool set and your skills in the ring or cage. As the fastest rising kickboxing world champion and a lifelong martial artist with over 30 years of experience, I've been able to combine my passion for martial arts and teaching to create this website. This website is going to give you some of the tricks, secrets, and inside look at some of the training I use to win my world title. Once you subscribe to this site, you're going to be getting weekly training videos and tutorials that you can do from anywhere. The sections are broken up into 3 parts. The first is bag workout. So if you have a bag at home or at your gym, you can use these workouts to supplement your training. The second is at-home workouts. A lot of us don't have the room for a bag or a bag in general, so these workouts are for no equipment needed and you can do them anywhere. And finally, the tutorial section. If you're having any problems with a specific technique or fight concept that's covered in any of the workouts, go to the tutorial section, learn the technique, and then go back to the workout, and this time, do it with proper technique. One of the added benefits once you subscribe is the forums section, where you can get a more personalized experience where you can ask questions and I'll be able to go in there and answer them. It's all about building a team and a community of martial artists helping each other grow. So subscribe now to get access to all the videos plus more so you can be part of the squad here at Bazooka Kickboxing and MMA.